Code 23 and a mentee at Microsoft Engage 2020. So with this, we can start. I request everyone to keep their mics on mute. However, if you have any questions, you can ask them through the chat box across any Meet link. Also, we can have an interactive session at the end. So with this, Tanvi, you now have the floor.
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. Can you please confirm that I'm audible and visible to everybody in all three links? Sharayu and Anushka, can you confirm for the other two links as well?
Yes, you know.
Great. Is my screen visible?
Not yet.
I'm actually trying to present from a different device. Is it still not visible?
There seems to be an issue.
My iPad. It's okay, I will present the blank template. Okay, is this visible for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry for the technical delay. Good evening, everybody. I am Tanvi Kasim. And without any delay, let us start with the session. Now, we will first be covering the flow for how you should study DSA. And later, a few important points that you must remember. I have gone through the questions that you guys have submitted in the Google form, and I'm hoping to cover all the points in my presentation. later on, if we have any questions, we'll have the floor open for you. So, also adding to this, this is not a hard and fast roadmap that you guys have. This is something that I have used for my preparation for internships and placements as well, and something that my mentors have told me over 1 or 2 years of time. And this is work for me, might not exactly work for you. You can of course have your permutation combinations and changes to it. But this is something that is basics that I'm trying to provide you guys with. So starting with first, uh, first would be choosing a language. Now, I strongly recommend you guys to choose either C++ or Java. The reason being that, firstly, I think all of you have studied Java as a part of FK2 curriculum. Is that right?
Yes.
So, because of that, it would be easy for you to grasp the concept in Java. If you have studied C++ in your 11th, 12th standards as a part of Maharashtra State Board curriculum and you're comfortable with that, you can go ahead with that as well. I would not recommend you guys to go ahead with Python. Python is a great language. You have to write only a few lines of code to get a very beautiful output. I agree with that. But as we will go ahead with the discussion, you will get to know about, if you are not already aware, you'll get to know about the different data structures and different steps that you guys need to be aware of. And uh, Python has a data type called list and a data type called dictionary, and all data structures can pretty much be implemented using a list and a dictionary in Python. And if you study data structures in Python, you might not be able to understand completely how the data structure works, or visualization of the data structure or physical representation of the data structure is a little bit difficult in Python. Or coding ninjas, LeetCodes, HackerEarth, any kind of coding, competitive coding platform, and their solutions or YouTube or Google or anywhere, they would provide you with C++ or Java solutions because that is what is primarily used to study data structure. You might not easily get solutions for Python as well. That is another thing. And if you do crack the coding rounds, and you have technical interviews, the interviewers might ask you to write down the code on a piece of paper or maybe on an online editor. And in that case also, if you if you code in Python and they ask you to explain the working of the data structure, it might be a difficult task, which is why I'm recommending C++ and Java here. But if you are comfortable with Python, you can solve questions in the test, in the coding test. To save time, you can solve questions in Python, but essentially that you know C++ or Java by heart for solving this. Then moving on, we will have basics of whichever language you choose. In whatever language you choose, then you should know the language fundamentals as well. This includes topics like exception handling.
नाही हॉटस्पॉट नहीं लिए ही तो तोहर हॉस्पिटल चालू बा तो हमारा हॉस्पिटल बंद हो तो तोरे पर आवता और मन से तोहर नेट बंद करके रखान बा वो जब तू ऐसा हॉस्पिटल कनेक्ट काहे करत फिर
You will get to know once you start. And finally, you should know few concepts like time, space. Then basics of recursion, hashing, hash maps. You might not completely understand this while you're studying how a language works, but it is important for you to know what calculating time complexity is, what calculating space complexity is, how basic recursion works. I think most of you know that a recursive function is going to call itself. And basic recursion codes like factorial of a number, or maybe some pattern codes that you might have done in this part, they can also be solved using recursion. So these simple implementations of recursion is something that you should know before you move on to data structure. Similarly, hashing, why hashing is used, basics of hash map. That is something that I would recommend you all to know before you move on to studying data structure. Then we go to basic DSA. Basic DSA would include arrays, strings, basic and maybe medium level questions. Then linked list. In linked list, I would recommend you to do single linked list, double linked list, circular, doubly circular. There are multiple types. You might have learned this in your DSA course, or you will if you are still in your first year. But point here is that do not skip any category, because you might feel that this is not important for your exam, like your ESC exam currently, but it is definitely important for solving DSA questions that you there in the competitive coding part. Then, okay, I don't know how many of you are from the first and second years, or even third years. So I would like to mention here that arrays, strings, and linked lists are the very basic data structures that we have in any language. Stacks and queues are also basic, but these also have an array implementation as well as a linked list, which is why knowing these three data structures by heart is very, very important. And once you know arrays, strings, and linked lists, then you can move on to stacks, queues. After that, recursion, backtracking, searching, sorry. So these comprise of the basic data structures and algorithms that you must do. As I mentioned, arrays, strings, and linked lists are the very, very basic data structures, and everything that you are going to implement from here on will in some way or the other have arrays or strings or linked lists. Then moving on to stacks and queues. A lot of companies have questions which are in one way or another implementation of a stack or a queue. May not be direct, but yes. So stacks and queues are really important. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if you study recursion during the basics of the language, you are going to understand solving competitive coding problems easily with recursion, backtracking, and also you will understand the searching and sorting algorithm very easy. So this would be the basic DSA part. Then we move on to advanced DSA. Yeah. So this will be math. We okay. So in advanced data structure, you have maps, maybe hash maps. trees, graphs, and heaps. You can absolutely not solve questions for these data structures without knowing all of this. And after you finish with heaps, there are greedy algorithms and dynamic programming. Maybe you don't have no idea right now what this means, but you can refer to this document later when you start studying for your internship. In my opinion, all of this that we have discussed so far is only to solve these two types of problems. 70 to 80% of the companies will have problems which are either solved by greedy algorithms or are an implementation of dynamic programming. So these are very, very important. Though this is a higher level of DSA, I am strongly recommending you guys to not skip greedy and not skip DP as well. To understand greedy algorithms and dynamic programming, you have to understand recursion and backtracking very thoroughly, because there is no chance that you can solve a greedy or DP problem without understanding recursion and backtracking. And to solve recursion and backtracking, you are going to need all the data structures that I've just mentioned. So with this, you will complete all, we will cover all types of DSA problems, all types of methods, and all types of patterns that companies will normally ask in a DSA test. Now, apart from this, few companies also have systems on bit manipulation. In the coding test. So after you're done with all the DSA questions, I would strongly recommend you guys to go through bit manipulation technique. And lastly, a few tips I would say from my side. First is that when you are doing the basics of the language, you should look into inbuilt tabs to hash map, certain sorts. So every language has a way to implement a stack, implement a queue, implement a hash map, implement searching or sorting directly without you having to write the implementation code. I think certain even heaps can be solved within these functions. So you should absolutely know how this works in whatever language you use, Java, etc. Because it is very helpful. It reduces the number of lines of code that you have to write in a test. And if the question is not complex enough, it would be solved very easily using the inventor. Secondly, you should have time and space complexity for all the algorithms and data structures that you will be learning. This should be by heart. This is not just useful for the DSA coding test, but it is also useful for your interview if when you get shortlisted. And lastly, implementation for linked list, trees, So what I mean by having the implementation by heart is that when you start studying, you will understand this, probably not completely right now. But when you're, let's say you're implementing the linked list using an array. Now, when you're implementing using an array, there is going to be a class definition for your linked list, which is going to have how you're going to traverse the linked list, how you're forming the linked list, how you're adding a node, how you're deleting a node, all of this. And all of this is a set block of code which won't change be it any question, be it any type of question, if you want to traverse a linked list in an array, the code is not going to change. Which is why when you're studying linked list as a concept, I would recommend you that you understand these implementation details very carefully and you by heart them, or you will remember them once you get to know how these things work. But there are a few companies which give you a blank editor slate when you're solving the question. By that I mean you only have to take the input, you have to define the class, you have to define the implementation for the data structure you are using. And in this case, if you have to build the logic for traversing the linked list from scratch during your test, it is going to be very, very time consuming. Which is why if you know it already, if you know how to traverse a linked list, or in case of freeze, you know the BFS, DFS implementation in your mind already, then it is going to save a lot of time, because trust me, solving all questions in a DSA test is tough. It is not very easy. So this is something that I would suggest you guys to do over time. Once you start solving questions, you will get to know it is not that hard. And lastly, so all companies do not have DSA as their first coding round. Few companies have MCQ tests. Few companies have MCQ plus English test. MCQs might have OS, DBMS, computer network, and app. Although 90% of the companies will have DSA either in the form of MCQs or writing the code, but there are a few companies who do not have a coding round. They have MCQ entrance where they have questions based on OS, that is operating systems, database, computer network, aptitude, English, and computer fundamentals, or the language fundamentals. Which includes exception handling. Again, it will be object-oriented programming, builder classes, pointers, whatever is applicable to the language that they are asking the questions for. So when you study, most of your concentration should be towards DSA, but you should not forget the concepts of OS, database. I'm sure most of you have not learned anything about computer networks because you're in your first or second year. But if you can, I would suggest you to know a few basics about computer networks, that is, what is a modem, what is a router. There are a few easy maths problems in CN, like how many hops will this network need and etc. You can Google it up, or I will share a sheet with you guys which has few basic questions. You can find ample resources on the internet for aptitude, and English is a easy task for all of us. And when you will go through whichever language you choose for coding DSA, you will come across these concepts. So make sure that you do it thoroughly. Now, this is a flow, or this is a roadmap that you guys should follow. How to do it? There are ample options. There is a sheet that one of my friends actually has prepared. I think most of the third year students have this. For DSA, again, if you look for sheets, there are going to be plenty sheets. Like there is a sheet from a YouTuber called Love Purple. He has around 450 questions in the sheet, which are divided into arrays, linked list tags, queues, topic wise, difficulty wise, everything. There is a sheet by a YouTuber called Striver. He has published it on his website. There are few other sheets as well. There are ample resources in the sheet. I will share the link with you. You can go over to HackerRank, HackerOr, Coding Ninjas, LeetCode, any of the competitive coding websites, and they will also have ACE DSA with 500 questions, ACE DSA with 400 questions. They have set of questions for internships and placement. So you can choose and pick any of this. There is no there's no sheet or there is no set of questions that can guarantee you an internship or a placement. Because in my experience, even if you solve 500 DSA questions, there is going to be one different question that is going to bum you out of the test. Because there is endless DSA resources and there are endless questions that can be formed on data structures and algorithms. So I would suggest you guys to not gather too many resources and do all of the things at once. You can stick to one sheet, you can stick to one YouTube channel, you can stick to one coding platform and start with that. So start with first start with the language that you're going to choose. Then any platform sheet, anything that you choose, start with arrays, start linked list, cover everything, and once you're done with that particular platform or sheet, you can move on to the next one. And when you move on to the next one, I'm pretty sure that you will be knowing how to solve half the questions in that particular sheet. Because even if you solve, as I said, even if you solve 500 questions, that the probability of that exact question being in one of your coding tests, it is highly unlikely. What you need to do is build logic. You need to understand how these questions are to be solved, how you develop logic, how you develop an approach towards these questions, so that you can then solve any given question. And DSA is something that haunts us all. I would agree, because I studied for DSA after my second year for the internships, and I got an internship in October. We start with the internship season in August. So August, September, and October. It took me 2.5 months to secure an internship. Optum, the company that I was an intern at, did not roll out PPOs all over India, which is why I had to go through the placement process again. For placements, now I'm placed at Wells Fargo, which was still, I think, the fourth or fifth company that we had for our batch. Point being that we have around 50-60 companies coming for internships and placements for every batch every year. The placement and internship track record for Cummins is extremely good. But you need to crack only one among 50. So don't be daunted by the volume of DSA that is there on the internet or the volume of resources that I or anyone else will be providing you with. You have to excel in only one test, and that is all. Because we have a one student, one company policy. So you have to crack one test and you have to crack one interview, and that is all. In the questions that we had in the response sheet, a few of you had asked how many days do I devote to DSA, how many hours do I devote to DSA, or should you do one topic completely, then move to the next one. So this is all completely up to you, because my methods won't work for you, your methods won't work for mine. But what I did during my preparation was that I started with one topic. I started with arrays, let's say. I understood the concept of array before I went into coding an array problem. Then I started with the easy, medium, and a few difficult problems for array, and I left the topic there. Then I moved on to, say, linked lists and other topics. And once I was done with the entire syllabus, I went back to arrays, because if you complete everything that is for arrays and you spend 10 days on doing one topic, firstly,
मम्मी
your
सानी का
brain is going
पासवर्ड
to
कब आ
forget what arrays is 20 days later.
मम्मी
If you open an array problem 20 days later, you might have to rethink
हानो से
what you had studied, because you have not visited it later on. So my suggestion would be cover the basics or cover up to medium level questions of every topic in one go, and later revisit those questions. Another tip that one of my mentors gave me was, you make a sheet, you make a Google sheet. I might have it somewhere.
पूछ क्या बात करते हैं उसके
Yes, is this visible?
Yes.
Okay. Uh, so I had made a sheet during my placement preparation, wherein I had started with a lead code blind 75 sheet that I found somewhere on the internet, which has 75 questions compiled of all data structures together, wherein the link to the question and all of that. I had noted down the solution approach, all kinds of solution approaches that I could think for one particular question. You can see here, when you start building a solution, there is obviously one brute force, one very basic, जो बच्चों level का अपना logic होता है, you're going to think of it first. So there is a brute force approach. Then you can think about how you're going to optimize that. And if that optimized approach can be optimized further in theory or with implementation. So that is what I had noted down. The time complexity, space complexity for the question or the approach that you are using. And this is something that I had put myself. So did I find the question easy, medium, or difficult level? And whether I think that I should revisit that particular question again. Because there are a few questions that you can, कि ये questions को star कर लो. Like there are a few questions, like there is a two-sum question, there's a knapsack problem in DP, there are a few searching questions, which are very typical and which form a base for a lot of other DSA projects. So this is something that I had marked for myself, whether the question is a easy, medium, difficult level, and whether I should check the solution for this question again or not. Another helpful thing that you can do is you can note down which all data structures are used process, so that when you read or when you go through the question again, you maybe take the solution, or you can just read this and understand that okay, such questions are with the method I found, these are the data structures, and it can be solved again. If you can do it in your mind, you can probably write down the code. It is not difficult. What is important is in logic. What you're going to do. So this is something that you guys can follow. And one very weird tip that I had gotten from my mentor at Girls University that you guys can also try out is that you practice typing issue on whichever device, whichever keyboard your text. I think for few people it is glitch that you how much. But
window setting करे
once
ठीक
you
रखे
start
तुम पता नहीं
talking, what happens is that our typing and our thinking speed mismatch. So even though you know the solution, you have to type.
जाता
Even if I'm sure all of you follow the same thing. So imagine if you're given a 6 month duration or a 4 month duration to develop a project. So the kind of quality of work that you can produce in 4 months is something that you cannot imagine at this point. So worst come worst, if you do not get an internship, you can start studying for DSA right now for your place. Think about it in this way that right now if I'm not getting an internship, I have just 1 month left to start with internship, right? I think TY is starting with internship. So I have only 1 month left to secure an internship, but I have one entire year to prepare for placement. And 1 year is a very, very long duration for you to prepare for DSA, for OLC, BMS, all the concepts, all types of coding questions, all types of textbook questions. 1 month is a very, very long, sorry, 1 year is a very, very long period. So don't worry if you don't get an internship. If you are struggling with DSA, I can understand. It can be haunting, it can be a little too much. But you always have the placement opportunity. With that, I think I'm done from my side and I'm open to any questions that we might have.
So thank you, Dhanvi. That was very helpful. We second years have been told how important and how scary DSA is, but to have it explained with a proper flow, that I think helps a lot. Especially some tips that you mentioned were honestly very helpful. Like I'm now going to maintain my own Google Sheet and with my own solutions. That sounds very helpful. We have a few questions from the Google Forms that we can take up first. What are the most important questions for DSA topic? How do I use my 2 months time? If I don't know anything about DSA right now, I want to start from scratch. Okay. As I said, there are no important questions as such. Yes, there are a few questions that 2 stars, 3 stars against the question. It is very important, very likely. But the company can always surprise, right? So you can use the flow that we have discussed today to start with एकदम basic की hello world in Java, from hello world in Java to dynamic programming in Java. It's done very easily to done span of 2 months. As I said, you can start with you can start with any sheet or any coding, whatever you get on HackerRank, coding ninjas or Gitcode. If you have no idea about how DSA or coding basically works, I would suggest you to go with one of the YouTube videos. Why? Because if you have no idea how this works, then starting with a coding platform can be done. For example, LeetCode has about, 10,000 plus questions. If you, for the first time in your life, open LeetCode, you might get scared of the entire process. So you can go with the Striver A to Z sheet or the Striver DSA sheet, wherein in their solution approach as well, they will explain the questions from the brute force to an optimized one to a more optimized. My suggestion would be don't follow the playlist blindly, as in to read the question,
You see the solution, you see how to code the solution, and then you code it in your editor, and yeah, you pass all test cases. In that way, you're not going to learn, you're going to memorize. So you might not build your own logic. As I said, first understand how a data structure works. So you take an array, first understand how to declare an array, how you're going to add an element in an array, delete an element, how you're going to traverse an array, how you're searching in an array, sorting in an array, everything. And after that, when you take up a competitive coding question for array, you have to first think कि करना क्या है? Do you have to traverse it? Do you have to search an element? Do you have to sort it first? What is to be done? That is the first question that comes to me. And when you find the answer, okay, first I have to sort it, then I have to search one and then. Then you're going to think about what searching technique to use, what sorting technique to use. And that is how you will learn to build solutions. Now, if you have never ever solved a competitive coding problem, yes, the first 10 questions, first 50 questions are going to be very, very tough, even though they are marked as an easy level question. In that case, you can go through the response in a YouTube video up to the approach point. Pause the video once the person is explaining the approach and then try to code it on it. Which in this way, you will start developing a thinking approach and a coding approach as well. And then slowly, after 10, 15 questions, you can pause at the point where they have done reading and explaining the question. Form a solution approach yourself. Then you can cross-check if it is matching with them, if you're going wrong somewhere. And then you can code and check if you are correct.
The next question is, how much weightage does DSA carry for clearing interview coding rounds for internships and placements?
I would say 100% for most of the companies. So there are a very few companies that I remember. I think there's MasterCard, there is Dell, and a few more. You can check the experience sheet. I'll share a sheet with you that you can share with these guys. There are very few companies who follow the MCQ pattern, as I said. And the MCQs also might have data structures questions only, but you just don't need to code the entire solution and you have a few options. So most of the companies will have DSA as the first round. You absolutely cannot skip DSA, no chance. Very few companies will have OS DBMS concept as a or maybe just object-oriented programming. But I would say about 95% companies will have purely DSA-based rounds. Few companies club the MCQ part with the coding part. So the test would be 3 hours long with 1.5 hours of DSA coding and 1.5 hours of MCQ. What I would suggest you guys is that once the internship or placement drive starts on campus, you can always refer to the experience sheet of your previous batch. I hope the current third year students have made one. We have one from our batch and one from RCB. So in that sheet, you have what company, how much stipend are they offering, what is the location, all those details, and what kind of questions were asked in the first round technical interview, HR round, whatever it is. Whoever has been shortlisted or whoever has attempted the test, they might have filled in their experience, where you can check that do you need to prepare for a coding test or do you need to prepare for an application.
The next question is, for internship, do I need to work on new projects other than what we do in college?
No. So the thing is, most of the companies won't shortlist you on the basis of your resume for internship services. Very few wherein there would be a resume based shortlisting, and if your resume does get rejected in this round, it would probably be because of the structure of your resume, not the content. Because at the second or third year level, most of you would have worked on the same kind of projects or the same number of projects. There are a few exceptions, of course, who are, I don't know, working on a research or have a big project, something they're doing externally. But most of you have the same resume with two things plus minus. So working on a new project just for the sake of internship would be a bad idea. Right now, if you are in second year, after your intern, start with DSA only. Adding a project to your resume at this point makes no sense. If you are in third year, not sure if you have TY audience, if you are in your third year and you do not have an internship right now, or you're joining pretty late towards July or August, you have time. Yes, you can work on a project which you can add in your resume for the placement process. That can definitely be done. But at second and third year level, they don't expect that much from you. If you have it on your resume, that's really impressive, really good. But at a fresher, because I think I had a doubt from one of the second year students few days ago that I have nothing to put in the experience part of the resume, which is obvious because at second year level there is going to be one or two students out of 100 who have some kind of work experience. So it is absolutely okay to not have anything work related to put on your resume, or you have only 3 or 4 projects, that is 2 projects, 3 projects, whatever it is. It is okay. I would suggest you guys to work on good projects in your lab assignment. Every lab has a mini project at the end. So if you work on good projects there, you will be having a project to put on your resume and you will also get good marks in your end.
Someone asked, what do we really work on during internships? What will your routine look like?
What you really work on in an internship really depends on what company and what team you're working with. Even the type of work differs from company to company, from domain to domain as well. You work with a software-based company, your team would probably be working on some feature of the software maybe, and you would be with those guys. If you work with fintech companies, you'll most probably be working with an internal tool or a software that they use for their clients. So it really depends on what company you're working on. Personally, at Optum, the team I was working with was non-technical, but they had a technical requirement that they needed to be developed. So my team worked with uh, compliance management and procuring of resources for the company, and they wanted a tool that a full stack develop. We developed a full stack solution for this. They wanted a tool which would make their daily work with Excel sheets a little less, and all things would be automated in the tool. One of my friends worked in the payment scheme for her internship. So she had to develop a payment gateway and an entire full stack application or a website regarding that. So there's no set pattern to what work you will be assigned. It really depends on what kind of team you're working.
So I had a question about, do you have any tips about like how to express your thoughts in an interview? Like you can think the solution of a DSA question in your head, but speaking it out loud in front of the interview can be difficult. How do you suggest we cope with that?
In an interview, online, offline does not matter. It is very important that you speak. Because let us say you're looking at this happened with me. As you mentioned in my introduction, I was a mentee for Microsoft Engage, and my interview for Microsoft was scheduled during our end sem exam, which I got to know one day prior. So I was not very prepared for the interview. I, out of nowhere, I just opened my laptop, and my interviewer was not very conversational. He did not even say good afternoon, what is your name? He just he just started the meet, opened an editor, pasted a question, and he was like, solve. He had no interest in having a conversation with me. And when I looked at the question, it was something related to Stack Overflow, I'm not sure. I took a minute to read it out, and what he thought was that I am lost. I am not understanding it, or I am stuck somewhere. Because after a minute, he asked, "What are you thinking?" So I said, "No, I'm just going through the question." So that is when I learned that you should talk in the interview, whatever it is. As I mentioned in the previous answer, how you build the solution. That okay, you've read the question. Yes, I've read the question. I've understood it. Say that I've understood the question. I'm thinking of the solution. Then you can say that okay, this is a searching. You need to search or sort or whatever in this question. Then these are the techniques that are coming to my mind. This is a brute force approach that I can think of right now. Obviously, this is not the most optimized one. We can optimize it. If you're stuck somewhere, you can say that as well. That I am a little confused here. Can you help me out? It's okay. That is not going to, give you minus points. The key to acing an interview is talking it. You just need to tell them that you're thinking something and that you understand some or the other concept of whatever he's laid down on the paper or whatever he's told you to do. So don't be afraid of the interviewer. If it is online, they cannot do anything. If it's offline, they're not going to eat you. So you should be relaxed, be confident. That is the key, and talk. Staying silent is definitely going to give you money.
So we can move on to the questions from the chat. Question from Lindsay. Will you please tell some tips and how to and where to apply for off-campus internships?
Okay. Okay, I'm not sure if this is a question coming from a second or third year student. For off-campus internships, LinkedIn is one source. Definitely, you can turn on the I am open to working part, and you're going to see suggestions daily. LinkedIn recruiting personally did not work out for me, as I mentioned. But you need to keep checking which role is available, which company is hiring, and you need to do daily applications. There is no second option to that. There are a few other platforms like Internshala. There are a few platforms which offer virtual internships in multinational companies, but I don't think virtual internships is something that we are permitted to take up as a part of the curriculum. Apart from that, we had a speaker in innovation, if you guys remember, Arsh Goel. He has a YouTube channel, he has a Telegram group on which he posts daily messages for any company across the world who's hiring for the batch of 2024, 25, 26 intern, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months internship, whatever it is. There is a YouTuber, I forgot her name, Apna College, I think. I think she also posts about off-campus opportunities. We had a sheet that we had compiled for Code Club last year. I think we'll have it this year as well. We'll share that also with all students, wherein there is a tentative timeline of all the off-campus opportunities that we know. Like there is GSOC, there is GHC, there is JPMC comes, you get notified on campus as well. Google also hires during the winter for internship. So all of that, whatever we are aware of, we'll jot down in the sheet and we'll share it with you. But for off-campus applications, you're going to have to track few groups, Telegram groups, YouTube channels, LinkedIn, all the hiring platforms daily because there is no set rule there.
Okay. Can we have freelancing in the experience section?
Yes, you can. Of course, you can. See, whatever you worked on, no matter how small or big, if you work on something for someone else that is not your own project, you can put it down in it. Why not? But you should not let's put it down in a way that it sounds like you've done. Writing a resume in a clever manner is really, really important. And I think we are going to have a session for resume building after NC. So this should be more clear in that session. But yes, definitely you can put freelancing in the experience section. One thing that I have seen in a few resumes from second and third year students is that you put in non-technical work experience under work. So do not do that. You can put that under co-curricular or extracurricular activity. Because the very first rule of preparing a resume is that your resume should be tailored to the purpose or to the company that you are applying. When you're applying for a technical job, the experience and whatever you're trying to highlight should be technical. Whatever is non-technical is a cherry on the cake.
So there's a question from a first year student. Should I prefer Java or C++ for DSA? Which one would be better?
It is really up to you. As I said, because we are taught Java, I think working with Java would be easier for majority of the students. But if you're not comfortable with Java, you can always start with C++. Another thing why I recommended Java was that with only 1 or 2 months in your hand, learning a language from scratch, even though the fundamentals don't change, but still learning a language from scratch and then going into DSA for that particular language might be a little time consuming depending on how easily you can understand the language. Second thing is C++ is lesser number of lesser lines of code. So if you are well versed with C++, do go ahead with C++. Java is writing the code blocks are really big because you need to write a lot of stuff when you're coding Java. But there is no set rule and it is not like Java is better than C++ or C++ is better than Java for DSA. You can go on with whichever language you
Uh, Another question from a second year student is, as you said, that first we need to clear basic concepts of DSA such as arrays, strings. So now I'm solving easy and medium level problems on GFG for, let's say, arrays, strings, and some of them have DP or backtracking as their optimized solution. So should I learn such advanced concepts simultaneously or should I skip such problems for me?
No, I would suggest you to skip the problems for now. Go to the end of the cover all data structures first, and then you can go back to the dynamic programming or backtracking solutions for the older question. As I said, DP and backtracking are not data structures, they are solution approaches. So when you start with DP or you start with backtracking, the questions that they will be covering would be the same conceptually that you've solved earlier with the use of a normal data, with a normal solution book. So when you go back to that question, you will revise the array string concepts also. And then you will understand how this is better than the previous one because then you would have solved easy and medium level questions of all the data structures. So, logic building part is going to take time. So I would suggest you to skip the ultra optimized dynamic programming or backtracking for now. If you do go through the solution and you understand it easily, then yes, sure, go through it, code it, and you can flag the question is done. But because if you start with the dynamic programming solution of one question, you might not understand the concepts related to it because you don't have the background knowledge of recursion and backtracking. So you will go into learning that and then something else. So you will go into a spiral of learning things for just one question. Instead, you can complete the workflow for easy, medium, doable questions for all the data structure and then go back to the optimized solutions for the question with TP or back.
How to manage college during internship hiring process?
That is something that you have to prepare yourself. I think you guys might have had this session by Rajendra sir, wherein he would have told you guys that you have 2 months time, chill at home because the next 4 months are going to be very, very tough. And it is partly true because the thing is that now with your batch where they have said, I think that all tests are going to be offline, it might be a little easier since you have to stay back in college. But for our batch, because we were just adjusting with the online offline structure, we used to have a lot of tests in the evening. Like there was a time where I had a test from 4 to 6, one from 6 to 8, and one from 8 to 10. So that can also happen. But if you focus 2 months of time completely on studying right now, it won't be that difficult. It is going to be exhausting. I'm not going to lie here that nahi ho jayega, chill karo. No, it is going to be exhausting because this is one of the most important parts of your engineering journey. It is, but you can use the 2 months time in a very, very good way. What happened with a lot of people from our batch was that they started studying a little bit late because since we were the COVID batch, we joined late. We had absolutely no vacations from first year to the end of second year. And when we did get a vacation, that was actually for studying DSA. But a lot of us got relaxed. And which is why when we had companies on campus, we had not really covered the entire syllabus for DSA. So I remember the first company we had was DSA for internships. And they had, you guys might not understand this right now, but there is a problem called knapsack problem in dynamic programming, which is a very typical question. And they had 2 typical dynamic programming questions in the test, which were, if you know dynamic programming, very easy. But if you don't, then you're going to scratch your head for 3 hours, see how to solve it. And because we had not reached to the point of dynamic programming, we had no clue how to go about it. A very few of us got shortlisted for the interview. So point here is that use your vacations very well. I know it is not very fair to study in vacations, but to make college easier during the whole internships or placements, you should be done with the major studying part in these 2 months. So that when you have companies coming on campus for tests, you just have to go through, like if you maintain a sheet like this, you just have to go through those 10 questions wherein you mark that, yes, I need to revisit this. Or you just need to go through the time and space complexity or whatever your studying method is. You just need to go through the important concepts or you just need to check what kind of questions this company has covered in the previous year coding test. And you don't have to cover an entire topic because that is going to be very hectic. Otherwise, managing college with internship process is going to be a little hectic, but it is not doable. It is fairly manageable if you manage your current time.
Is getting a placement easier than getting an internship? Can you compare both?
No. As in if you talk about going through the whole test interview process, then there is probably no difference between getting an internship and getting a placement. Few companies they choose to not differentiate between the second and third year. Like whatever test the interns have, that is the same test what the recruits are going to take. So process wise, few companies will take into consideration that these are second year students applying for an internship and these are third year or final year students applying for a placement. But most of them make no differentiation. So studying or like DSA or concept wise, no, there is no difference. Interview process differs from company to company. Now, what is easier compared to going through the whole process again is securing the PPO. So if you get into a good company which offers a good package, which has a good work-life balance, good work experience, good team, all of that, do work hard in your internship for whatever project they are offering you because you'll get to know this when you start with the internship process. It is tiring, it is hectic. And after you complete 2 months of internship, going back to the whole DSA internship process is going to be very tiring for you. If you get a PPO, you skip the whole thing. I mean, if you ask me, I haven't really worked with DSA or all of these things after I've got a placement. And the relief that you get after you have a placement is incomparable. So process wise, is getting placement or internship easier? No, it is the same thing. Also, you are an year older when you are studying for this. So you have studied a lot by the time you are sitting for placement test. So it might be easier for you in particular, considering the amount of efforts you have taken. But process wise or a company point of view, they really make no difference or make no differentiation. The process is as rigorous, it is as tedious, it is the same.
So there's another question similar question. If we get internships at Microsoft or Google, such companies, but not get a PPO, but versus we get internship at a company which would give a PPO for sure. Which one do?
So if you do get an internship at Microsoft or Google, don't reject it. It is going to be an amazing experience. But yes, there is an issue with PPOs right now. I think Microsoft has not hired for the 2025 batch or the hiring ratio is low. Or I heard that for our batch, Amazon had a 6-month internship period but did not roll out PPOs pan India. So yes, that definitely is an issue. I would suggest you, if you are getting an internship at such a good company, don't leave it. Of course, it is going to be a great addition to your resume, to your skills. It is going to be an amazing experience. So that is something that you cannot trade with a PPO. If you get an internship at a company which would give you a PPO for sure, there are a few factors that you need to analyze depending on what you're expecting from a placement, like a package, the work culture, the kind of projects, or the kind of growth the company offers. Uh, if it is an option that if you ask to choose this or that, I would say choose a big company and study for your future. It's again not easy, easier said than done. I can now with a placement in hand, I can very easily say that study for placement. But I also studied for placement simultaneously with my internship. I used to study in the morning and then go to office, then continue with my work. So it is difficult, but not again not doable. So if you have such kind of opportunity, do not leave it because you're not getting it. I would suggest you take it, you take the whole experience and go ahead with the placement.
Just to study basics of computer network.
Um, I don't remember any right now, but I will share it the sheet once I compile it. For computer, there is a platform called Interview Bits, which has general questions that can be asked on all the computer fundamental subjects like OS, DBMS. It might have some for CN as well. I will definitely compile towards the sources and we'll make it for you.
So I think with that, the question then. Thank you so much, Tanvi, for taking out time to guide us all. I'm pretty sure it helped a lot of second year students who will be given the first interview and also the third year students. So thanks a lot. I think we can wrap up.
Thank you so much for attending. The fact that there are people on 3 Google Meet links watching you is really a great thing. All the best, all of you, for your entrance and for your internship or placement drive, whatever you have.
Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.